Hello, I'm Matt Guff from thehouse.com, and this is a 2019 LibTech round nose fish snowboard. It's a big mountain deck that you can ride POW with, of course, for intermediate to advanced level riders. This is a fun shaped deck. It's a directional board. If you like riding deep snow, you need a lot of surface area to get to where you're going. This is going to be a really good board. Can you ride it on groomers? Of course you can, but it's going to be a little bit more beneficial if you're in the deep stuff. Now, this is obviously a directional shaped board. The nose is quite a bit longer than the tail. The stance is set back 2 inches, and there's a step swallow tail which sinks in deep snow. There's also a 10mm style taper too that helps the nose stay a little bit more afloat. The cool part about the deck though is that it features a profile shape that's found in a lot of LibTech boards called C2. It's easy to ride, it has precise control, and it floats really well. But what's different about this deck is that there's definitely an early rise. Now, you could say that the contact points or the effective edge of this board is about 107 to about 110, depending on which size you get, but it has a fairly short effective edge. But with that, the profile shape is centered within the stance. So if the contact points are relatively, like, let's say here and here, the board is centered within those contact points. But outside of the contact points, as you see, the nose has a gradual, much longer style taper. The tail has a little bit more of a mellow taper, then gradually kicks up where the swallow tail is. What that does is that when you're on hard pack, it can still feel like you're fairly centered on your board. But one thing I've noted with the round nose subtail is that nose can feel a little bit long when you are riding just groomers. But with that, the C2 profile shape, there's rocker between the feet. As you see, the board gradually rockers back and forth. That gives the board a nice loose style feel. It helps the nose stay up. And then underneath each foot, to those contact points, the board has camber. And that camber, when you're on groomers, gives the board a little bit more precision and control. But outside the contact point on the nose, you see again, it has a gradual rocker and sweep style up. Now, there's an interesting thing about this deck and the specs that go along with the board. On the spec sheet, it says that it's both horsepower and the original power style construction. From the way that it feels compared to other boards within the line, I'd probably say that this has the original power construction. There's birch on the rail on the inside of the ultra high molecular weighted sidewall, and then there's poplar and paulownia, or excuse me, there's aspen and paulownia. The majority of the board's gonna be aspen, but then there's paulownia style strips from the contact points or up here on the nose, running parallel with the edge all the way to the tail's contact point in between the insert packs and the rails on each side of the board. I have a feeling that it's actually the original power construction, not the horsepower construction. And then of course it's going to be the Tri-X glass on top of the board that gives the board a little bit more of a lively style feel, and then Biax on bottom, which gives a nice smooth and consistent style feel. But overall, when you ride the deck, you know, in between, when you're like dead center on the board, like dead center in between your stance, it feels kind of like a normal board, which is really unique because when you look down, it has this huge sweeping nose and this kind of like short double hitch style tail, which is kind of unique. But you put this thing in POW, and this thing really does float, and it floats fast because of that kind of more mellowed out style nose. One thing I absolutely love about what LibTech did with the round nose fish is they actually put a center base on it, not the TNT style hybrid base. The center base though will need to be maintained much more than any other base out there because it can dry out. So make sure to maintain it by waxing this thing up. It's going to perform the best when there's a fresh coat of wax on it. And then of course lastly is the magne-traction edges. Now this has like some pretty mellow magne-traction. Magne-traction is serrations down the edge that help it to grip on firm snow. The serrations on the nose and on the tail are a little bit more mellow, and as they get towards the center, they're a little bit larger. And what that does is when your board is on firm snow, it gradually helps the board to roll into a turn, but once you're kind of like railing hard, the serrations in between the feet that are a little bit larger help to grip more. So you can still ride this thing on hard pack, But you're gonna want to? No, you're gonna want to ride deep snow with it. That's kind of what it's for. Make sure to check this bad boy out, the LibTech Round Nose Fish at thehouse.com by selecting the link below in the description. Yeah, it'd be awesome to see you guys out on snow riding this thing. If I ever see you out there, I'll definitely give you a high five. That's right. Peace out. Hope you see you on snow.